Hello, and welcome back to Threat Hunting, a hands-on introduction. All right, so this is episode 2. We need to learn how to work smarter and not harder. All right, so I'm a total science nerd, so we're going to kind of talk about a hypothesis, but hold on, stay with me, it'll be good. All right. So with a hypothesis, you need to know a little bit about it. So we have to profile our threat. Okay. So, number one, we want to figure out, do I want to look for it? If you're really scared of Yahoo's Ask toolbar, you should totally profile it. But maybe that's a little too low. Maybe you want to move to something more like a Trojan. All right, and we can kind of do that profile by looking at the tactics, techniques, and procedures of the threat. All right, so let's dive in a little bit. Emotet. All right, so yeah, pretty dynamic, pretty nasty, could be very, very effective. Let's first look at relevance. Okay, so according to US Search, yeah, this is worth looking for. This is something, yeah, you want to find out if it's there or not. Okay, let's think about tactics here. All right, so MITRE breaks stuff down, and here are some of the kind of the tactics they look at. Okay, so recon is going to be the threat trying to figure out the environment. Initial access, how does it get in? How does the malicious program actually start? How does it stick around? Maybe it started on a really kind of uninteresting computer with low rights. How's it going to hop it back up? Is it going to hide its tracks? How's it going to steal your important secret sauce? And how's it going to talk to the mothership? So these are all tactics, and different threats have specific ways of doing these. Now, those ways might evolve with the threat, and we'll look at that too. All right, so here's a basic kind of like, how does Emotet Trojan get in? Okay. One of the big things, email, woohoo, right? And then we've got an attachment of some kind, Word or PDF. Now, I think lately they're moving away from attachments just because they're easier to find. And so generally I've seen links buried inside of benign attachments to try to fool sandboxes. But either way, there's something that has to be clicked on or macros have to be enabled to download the threat. Okay, and then it does some other nasty stuff. How's it going to stick on the computer? And then we can also see network propagation here. So it wants to move around. So in a very big way, right now we're profiling Emotet and how it works. Very kind of like, flyover kind of view. All right, now behavior. All right, specifically on the endpoint. This isn't going to create network logs. This is what the actual infected machine or host is doing. Big fan of AnyRun, great information on it. Wonderful. In fact, let's hop over there for a second and take a look at this particular sample of Emotet. It's an older one. It's from June 2019, depending when you're watching this. All right, so a little bit. So here's kind of AnyRun. And so it actually shows what goes on the screen during an infection. We've got little categories here of what's going on. You can pull down PCAPs. Kind of cool. Like there's even an attack matrix that they break down to look at, and a process graph. I dig me some process graph. All right, and so we'll dive into this more in a later one, but this is for this sample how Emotet behaves when it is executed, right? So this is something when you study it, you can start to create a profile for your hunt and your hypothesis. Here's PCAP, kind of breaking it down. Malware traffic analysis. Oh my gosh, another amazing site. TrickBot. That'll keep you busy. Anyway, so we've got that. We'll kind of look into that as well. All right, big thing when you do your hunts, you have to make sure you can see what you're looking for. If you can't, it doesn't do you a whole lot of good. If all of the traffic is encrypted with SSL and you can't capture SSL certificates and you can't break it, you're now down to IP addresses, which is something, but it's limited. So you need to know your visibility before you can look for certain things. All right, so let's dive in and create our first hypothesis. So basically the format is, how are you going to know when you find it? So when I find this, I know I have found Emotet. Okay. So, all right, what tactics or techniques are going to stand out in my environment that I can see? And how will I know that this is Emotet? All right, so you find something bad theoretically, and you got to sound the alarms. Probably someone above you is going to be like, great hunting. Now, how do you know it's Emotet? Okay, so kind of look at that. So from looking at any run, we know it came through on a phishing email. Okay. We know it's, for that sample, it involved a Microsoft Word document with macros. We also saw that it spawned itself. So I'm going to jump over a second. So this is kind of interesting. Notice that the program called itself. That might stand out in your environment. That might not happen very often. Okay. PowerShell calling an odd executable. That might not happen in your environment very often. All right. So these are things we can build a hunt around. Also, I want to point out, notice how PowerShell is no longer run directly from WinWord or Microsoft Word. Okay. That broke some people's rules. Right. So got to keep up on threats. But okay. Let's head back to slides. There we go. Perhaps you now really know what a post traffic looks like for Emotet. Could look for that. Maybe all you have are a list of Emotet command and control IP addresses. Run with that, right? So your hypothesis, your tactic, your technique built on actual samples that have run. It's pretty powerful. So maybe in a big generic term, your first hunt is if you see a user opened an email. This is specific to the time frame, but maybe referencing a past conversation. All of a sudden, an unknown process pops up, and you see web traffic that matches a malicious pattern for Emotet. That's a pretty thorough hunt, right? And that'll help prove that you have Emotet. Okay, so quick wrap up. Profile your threats. Okay. Any run's a great source. Malware traffic analysis. There's a bushel of them, and I'll try to point them out, the ones I like. Visibility directly affects what you can hunt for. This is a big deal if any C-levels are watching this, okay? Understand your threats, so when you pay those really big bucks to find those nasty things, make sure they can actually see them at different points in the MITRE attack framework. Word to the wise. And also, your hypothesis will help you move faster, right? It'll weed out really quickly what you are not infected with. Okay, great. Can't wait to see you join me in the next video.